I am so excited to be in the Petal and Seed studio with owner Lucy. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming.
I would love to just hear like sort of your story on how you got started and your evolution as a florist.
Well, I was a teacher for a few years and I would love teaching, but I would drive to school and kind of just picture my flower farm. And I just decided to go for it. I was just going to go do it in my backyard. And so I started prepping. I have a pretty big backyard. I started prepping all my beds and planting stuff. And I just realized it wasn't enough space. And so I talked to somebody about renting some farm space in Ashland and just started growing stuff and going for it. I went around to every restaurant in town with a little flyer to see if they wanted local flowers. And I think out of all those restaurants, only one said yes.
Hey, but all you need is one yes. It only takes one, right?
Yeah, and it was one of the biggest restaurants in town, the Brick Room. And then I slowly started getting more, a few more, and just expanding from there.
That's amazing. What makes this different? So do you do all of it yourself?
Pretty much. I have a little bit of help. There's a farm manager on the farm who does like tractor work for me and certain things like that. And then I have usually two at a time, helpers that help me with the harvesting and in the flower studio.
And I mean, walk us through like your typical day.
Okay. Every day is different.
Every day is different.
Mondays, we meet on the farm as early as possible, especially in the summer. And I meet the other lady that helps me harvest, and we harvest all morning. And then we usually either store stuff in the cooler, we have a big walk-in cooler, or we bring it back to the flower studio. And it sits overnight, all the flowers to hydrate. And then Tuesday is just crazy in the studio.
Processing.
Yeah. And it starts Monday night sometimes too, because I do some early morning deliveries and I do all my own deliveries. So,
see, and that's a way we could totally work murder in, because you're out and about early in the morning.
Have you seen my van?
No.
It doesn't have any windows on the side.
Oh, see, that's dreamy.
Yeah.
That's good for the flowers, right?
Yeah, it's really good for the flowers. It's hard because I don't have blind spot. I have a lot of blind spots. But yeah, so I start delivering early Tuesday morning and then just spend all day in the studio Tuesday and do most of the deliveries Tuesday afternoon. So that's Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday is farm work day. So sometimes we'll do some harvesting in the morning and store stuff in the cooler. It's so nice to have a walk-in cooler to store the flowers.
Or a body.
Exactly.
I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. Kidding. We're kidding. There are no bodies. Only beautiful flowers.
And so, yeah, so we do some harvesting Wednesday morning and usually just try to get some farm work done. There's usually planting, weeding, fixing irrigation, all kinds of things. Thursday is usually another harvest day and designing for Fridays for weddings or for other deliveries on Friday and Saturday.
And then do you ever
funerals?
Yeah. Do you ever have a day off?
Not usually. I try to take the weekends off as much as possible. Spring is a really hard time because it's a combination of just like so much farm work with planting and harvesting, and it's hard to stay on top of things. But usually like midsummer, things start to slow down a little bit. All the planting and farm work, I can just mainly just harvest.
And then what about the winter when you're not on the farm so much?
Yeah, so October is one of the busiest months because I do all my planting for the spring, most of it. So it's a lot of bulbs. All my tulips come and I have to plant those, ranunculus. It's a big planting time, prepping beds, planting. But then by November, things start settling down. Hopefully there's snow and frost. And I usually take vacation most of November and December. And then January it starts again.
Then you're starting to prep.
Planting. Yeah. And then harvesting usually starts like end of February.
Wow.
Because I have a greenhouse and big caterpillar tunnels that things are growing in all winter.
Ooh, caterpillar tunnels. You see where my mind goes. Since we're talking about, sort of the cycle of the seasons on the farm, this summer here in the Rogue Valley, we've just been hit with the worst smoke. How has that impacted, not only you being out in the fields, but the growing season and the flowers themselves?
Yeah, it's hard to say. A lot of people ask me that question, and there's so many different factors that go into farming that it's hard to like say, oh, oh, it's the smoke that's causing the flowers to do that. It's really hard to say. I did notice some flower types that were very slow to bloom, but I don't know if it's from the smoke or there could be, you know, gopher under the ground, all different kinds of things. So it's hard to say, but it was very challenging to be out on the farm. Yeah. So we would usually just try to get out there first thing in the morning, like as early as possible and be done by noon. And then just be inside in the studio and stuff. Masks. Yeah.
Just like that idea of being out in the farm and having a mask on during like nonstop smoke. How did you cope?
Yeah, well, it's the middle of summer and it's one of the busiest times of year to have flowers. The field is full of flowers and most people left town.
Right.
So it's like really hard, first of all, to be out in the smoke, and then second of all, to be able to sell the flowers because most locals are out of town, and it's potentially going to be a time of year where people don't schedule weddings as well. So yeah, that's just something that's a little bit scary.
I know. So then does that make you have to rethink like your plan for the coming years?
It was crazy because spring was just so busy, and then like end of September is so busy, but there was a time in August where it was just completely dead.
Thank you. Thanks for working in dead. You are in the middle of wedding season as we speak. What is the frenzy of that like? What are the challenges? Is it all a challenge? Is there anything fun about it?
Yeah, it can be a little bit stressful. Last weekend I had 5 weddings and I said yes to all of them because they all seem manageable. There's, you know, a few arrangements for one. A few bulk buckets. I do bulk buckets and the arrangements so people can get a mix and do some of their own flowers. But it can be pretty stressful. Most people are pretty particular. Some brides want what's in season, colorful, but some brides want all white. And so growing my own flowers, it can be challenging because I, usually can just use what I have. But there's also an amazing community of flower growers around here that I'm like, oh, do you have white scabiosas? Or, we can get stuff from each other, which is really nice. But another stressful thing is everything kind of has to happen at once because the flowers need to be fresh.
Right.
And look good for the day.
Yes.
And there's some flowers like dinner plate dahlias that have a very short vase life. So, you can't do it a couple days ahead. You have to do it right before. And just making sure everything's ready and coordinating, it can be a lot, but it's also great. It's very rewarding, and usually the brides are just so happy, and yeah, it's pretty special to be a part of it.
Have you ever had a crazy request that you're just like, I can't even?
No, I don't think so. I mean, sometimes there's been a couple times where I've told people that I don't think it's a good fit. If they're very particular about what they want, because what I do is kind of like more seasonal floral design and it's a little more wild and lots of textures and stuff. But if they want just like totally standard type thing, I usually kind of recommend that they go to a florist.
Well, and some of what you're doing, because everything is from the farm, like you're saying, it's not like you can get a rare Hawaiian, I don't know what that is.
I could, but it's a little bit against what I believe in.
Yeah.
I believe in like doing what's in season, and it's really hard for me if somebody's like, I want dahlias and it's May, because there's no dahlias growing and I don't want to order them from across, another country or whatever. So yeah, I kind of try to stick to what I believe in and try to convince them that what's in season is really good.
Yeah.
It's easy if it's in the spring because those are the best flowers.
Right. But we should say, like, what's in season is always good, right?
I know. Yeah. And a lot of people like that. Like, they want to do what's in season and, but there's some people that are just kind of oblivious to that.
Sure. I think, honestly, that could be a metaphor for life, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be in the season.
I know, totally.
And on that note, you do some wholesale for other florists in the region, too, right?
A little
in
bit.
Your spare time.
A little bit. There's a lot of independent florists who just they might not have a shop or something. I don't know. They have a studio somewhere, but a lot of them reach out to me for certain things. So they'll want flowers for a specific wedding, other florists, but it's pretty minimal. I don't do that too much. I try to focus on my regular clients and my weddings as much as possible, but yeah, it's nice to have lots of different options for selling flowers.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about like what you've started working on today?
Yeah, this is a bridal bouquet, which I am still working on. I kind of like to do it and then set it aside because I need to like get rid of it for a second and let the flowers hydrate. So yeah, it looks like this.
So beautiful.
In the back.
And do you want it on all sides to look good?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's the thing about bridal. It's like every inch matters. So and things will change. You know, when it sits for a while, the flowers might kind of rearrange themselves. So I have to go back and work on it, and then I put ribbon around it before I give it to the bride. But I'm going to take this pretty soon to my walk-in cooler.
Okay.
And let some of the flowers hydrate. The Cafe au lait dahlias are really popular, but they don't always last very long. So sometimes I have to switch out flowers if they're looking a little bit not so great.
But you need to almost like give yourself some distance from it to come back with fresh eyes.
And there's little things like, you know, you want things kind of coming out in different angles. So you just have to make sure it looks
wispiness.
I know, it's all the little details, the vines. And then this is just a little posy that the bride's sister is going to be holding.
Beautiful.
Just a small, kind of a smaller version of her.
And it's all in season right now. This is all from the farm?
Yep.
Mm.
Yep.
I also wish we had smell-o-vision because the aroma in here is just ambrosial.
Oh my gosh, in the spring it's like everything smells.
Yeah. Do you get sick of it or are you like, oh?
I don't usually get sick of it. No.
Yeah. No,
I
how
like
could
it.
you?
Yeah.
I think that totally makes sense because when I'm working on a book, I will write a first draft and then I walk away for like months to be able to come back to it and see like what else it needs. So
exactly.
The same is true for flowers.
I usually have it sit in the cooler and then right before I give it to the bride, before I put the ribbon on, I just do some tweaks on it.
Love it. Yeah, you mentioned that, you know, a bride might want to come and buy a bucket to do her own design. If someone was coming to the farm, let's say, do you have any tips for someone coming home with a beautiful bucket of flowers?
For a wedding or just in general? Just in general.
Like what would you suggest?
That's a very good question. Well, make sure to have some sharp clippers. I use flower food often. Flower food or being really good at changing out the water.
Yeah.
Just making sure you have a good workspace to work in. Getting a bucket of flowers can sometimes be overwhelming. I've noticed giving people a bucket of flowers, they're like, oh my God,
what do I do?
There's like foliage. I put pods in. It's like all different things to make arrangements. It's not just the flowers. So I think sometimes it's overwhelming, but just having fun with it, having a good workspace and being able to lay everything out and stick it in. No foliage in the water.
No foliage in the water.
No leaves in the water. It makes it rot. So I'm always, as soon as I pick up a flower, I strip off the leaves. So not too much though, because you don't want the stem to be naked. But yeah, I think just making sure you have good vases and it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Just having fun with it. But I think for some people, it can be really overwhelming. Others, it's like exactly what they want to do. I have friends that are like in heaven when I give them a bucket of flowers. They're just like, go for it.
Yeah. Let me get in there.
Yeah.
Now we are at the part of the interview where I ask you 10 rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Do you feel nervous?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes. Okay, number 1, where is the best place in the studio to stash secret evidence?
Underneath this flower table where all the scraps are.
Yeah.
Have been forgotten.
Ooh, I love it. Cellophane or never cellophane?
Never cellophane.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely no. Favorite flower? Is that like asking favorite kid?
Ranunculus or rose.
You can't go wrong.
They're pretty standard, but I love them. Garden rose.
Garden rose.
Yeah.
Excellent. Book or movie?
Book.
Yes, definitely. Murder weapon of choice.
Oh my gosh. Probably my clippers, because I always have them on me.
Watch out. She's coming for you. Baby's breath, yes or no?
No.
Yeah.
I try, but it's hard.
Your signature color?
I would have to say muddy rose.
Ooh, yeah. Best season for flowers?
Spring.
That wasn't even a hesitation. Your favorite flower trend?
muddy tones, the muddy tones and the burgundy tones.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And last but not least, the best part of being a floral artist is
having my own schedule, being my own boss, and being around flowers every single day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for having me into the
Thank you so
studio.
much.
This was
It
a blast.
fun.